The worst has happened, and it happened fast. In a matter of days, Nigeria's oil output dropped 16%, while the country's biggest industrial bet went dark. 200,000 barrels of crude oil production was wiped away. Not from a turbine failure, not from a pipeline leak, not even from a crude shortage. A memo did it, a directive, a union order. On September 27, 2025, Africa's largest oil refinery, bigger than anything on the continent, shut its doors to the world. The pumps were quiet, the gantries still, the lights on a $20 billion dream dimmed by a few signatures and a seal. It would be comforting to think this was about worker safety, or fair wages, or compliance. It wasn't. Because the strangest detail is the one nobody wants to say out loud. The workers here were already earning 3 to 4 times what peers earn. The company was paying massive taxes, and for the first time in Nigerian history, refined Nigerian fuel was making its way to Europe and America. So who gains when a success story is suffocated? This is where the story turns from a labor dispute to a pattern of power. It's older than the refinery, older than independent Nigeria, an economy ruled not by builders, but by gatekeepers, the middlemen, the depot owners, the fee collectors, the rule writers who move in shadows while saying the right words in public. If you have ever wondered why Africa struggles to build things that last, watch what happened here. It's not a one-off. It's a manual. So the only question worth asking is the one that cuts through all the noise. What really happened? In this video, let's find out. For 57 years, Nigeria's oil story was a loop. Extract crude, export crude, import refined products at a premium, and bleed foreign exchange for the privilege of buying back what you already own. Think of a farmer selling mangoes for $1 and buying back the juice at $5 forever. The Dangote refinery, with a 650,000 barrels per day design, was the first serious attempt to smash that loop from inside. It introduced a new gravity: domestically refined fuel, export-grade quality, direct distribution, and a shot at real energy independence. That wasn't just industrial progress. It was a threat to people who had built careers and empires on the loop itself. But even before the strike, the system pushed back. The refinery struggled to secure Nigerian crude directly, not because the country lacked oil, but because access was mediated by third parties that insisted on hard currency deals at premium pricing. In the absurd math of captured systems, a Nigerian refinery refining Nigerian crude for Nigerians had to pay international middlemen to touch its own country's oil. That's not a market. That's a toll road. Then came the flashpoint. After internal claims of sabotage and deliberate disruptions, management reorganized and let go of about 800 workers, pledging to redeploy them across the broader group. On paper, unions moved in for a familiar fight: collective bargaining rights, alleged substitution of local staff with foreign technicians, and constitutional freedoms to organize. These are serious claims, and the right to organize is real. But the velocity and breadth of the response, the way the strike was executed like a precision instrument, signaled something much bigger than a standard workplace dispute. Because look at what was actually threatened by the refinery's operating model. It wasn't merely salaries or benefits. It was a logistics ecosystem, depot chains where fuel used to be stored and marked up, per-truck fees collected like rent from a country forced to queue for its own fuel, and a distribution web that had turned scarcity into a business model. The refinery's decision to deliver directly by investing heavily in modern trucks and bypassing legacy depots wasn't just operational efficiency. It was a decapitation of the fee ladder. No depot, no middleman. No middleman, no cut. No cut, no reason to keep the old scaffolding standing. That's where the union strike order became the perfect tool. It framed the battle in the language of rights, but aimed the blow at the refinery's feedstock and lifeblood. Gas supply, cut. Crude deliveries, halted. Moorings, shut. Office complexes across the sector, closed in solidarity. In a single coordinated move, the pressure migrated from a payroll table to the center of gravity of Nigeria's energy system. A court injunction tried to stop the obstruction of supply. It was brushed aside. Essential service protocols that ordinarily require notice and mediation? Ignored. The logic is simple. If the refinery is a threat to the old economy, you don't negotiate margins. You hit the valve. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black Africa. Let's continue now. The economic shock was immediate and brutally instructive. A refinery that had started shipping compliant products abroad, symbolically ending decades of humiliation, now stood as a reminder that Nigeria's greatest vulnerability has never been talent or capital. It has been the cartelization of access. That cartelization can wear many faces. The union banner, the depot gate, the regulatory circular. Different masks, same function, that is to preserve a rent. Let's call the structure by its real name, invisible infrastructure. You can see a pipe, you can audit a balance sheet, but you can't easily see the mesh of customary fees, preferred routes, memo-based bans, sudden quality claims from labs that barely work, and the whisper networks that decide who gets fuel at what time and price. You'll hear it explained as standards, compliance, safety, national interest. Sometimes those words are true. Often they are camouflage. This invisible infrastructure is why foreign companies long refused to buy Nigeria's broken state refineries when privatization was floated years ago. They could read the subtext. One Chinese bidder tried for a state asset, was rebuffed as too low, and built next door instead, where the plant still runs. Meanwhile, billions were sunk into turnaround maintenance, without a turnaround to show. That history matters because it proves two things. First, outsiders aren't blind to the pattern. Second, insiders have learned to treat reformers not as partners, but as threats. So why this refinery, and why this union? Because this plant was the first real attempt to disintermediate multiple layers at once: upstream access, midstream logistics, and downstream distribution. The refinery's scale, paired with direct delivery, meant the old network would, over time, become optional. Optional is existential. That's when institutions switch from bargaining to warfare. The counter-narrative says, what if the refinery becomes a monopoly? The honest answer is inconvenient but necessary. You can't call someone a monopolist for being the only player that actually built the thing everyone else has only licensed on paper. You break monopoly risk by making it possible for others to build too. Rule clarity, feedstock access on equal terms, honest regulation, not by strangling the only functioning plant and calling that balance. The most damaging moments in this saga weren't the pickets or the speeches, they were the insinuations. Quality compliance claims tossed around without empirically credible testing capacity. Selective approvals that opened the door for competing imports precisely when a domestic alternative emerged. Public assertions that assume guilt first, verify later. This tactic is older than Nigeria's oil sector. When you can't outcompete the new model, you label it defective, delay it with paperwork, and flood the market with alternatives. If that sounds like regulatory capture, that's because it is. And this has consequences beyond one company. It sends a signal to every African builder with a 10-year capital-intensive vision. Your goals must price in an adversary that doesn't appear on standard risk models. Not coups, not commodity cycles. Capture. The kind that smiles at ribbon cuttings and strangles you with circulars 3 months later. The kind that declares you non-compliant today and approves substandard imports tomorrow. The kind that preaches the rule of law and ignores injunctions when pressure is required. So, what really happened? A refinery threatened to reorder the oil economy from extraction to pumping. The invisible infrastructure of gatekeepers responded with the most efficient instrument available, a strike calibrated not to negotiate, but to disable. The aftershock was immediate, the settlement partial, the message unmistakable. If you try to cut out the middleman in Nigeria, the middleman will not litigate first. He will suffocate first and let the courts catch up later. This is why the refinery must not merely restart. It must be shielded by rules that make capture harder, not scandal more profitable. Because the next time the valves close, it may not be a week, it may be a season. And a season like that would not just darken a plant. It would dim a generation's faith that Nigeria can finally escape the mango and juice trap. If Nigeria chooses the builder over the broker, it won't need to declare it. You'll see it in the little things. Crude lifting contracts that read like contracts, not puzzles. Quality tests that read like science, not gossip. Unions that negotiate like professionals, not proxies. Depots that compete, not collect. That's how you turn a truce into a transition. Until then, remember the date. September 27th, 2025, when a memo proved more powerful than 650,000 barrels a day. Not because the refinery was weak, but because the invisible infrastructure around it was still stronger than the law that should have protected it. That is the problem to solve. And that is the real story behind how a union memo, in a captured system, can paralyze a nation. What do you think? If workers were already among the highest paid in the oil sector, what exactly were they striking for, and for whom? Why does a Nigerian refinery have to buy Nigerian crude through foreign middlemen when the oil lies beneath Nigerian soil? In the comment section below, share your thoughts on who benefits from keeping the country dependent on imported fuel even after a $20 billion refinery exists to end that cycle. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring videos on Black Africa, its history, rich arts and culture, and things the world should know about. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.